Good afternoon. It's good to be with you on this Thursday afternoon. The queues at the SASSA offices in Gugulethu are notorious. They became tragic this week. An elderly man suffered a heart attack and died, while another grant beneficiary was rushed to hospital. The long queues are also increase grant recipients' risk of contracting COVID-19. Well, for more on this, I'm joined by eNCA's Ronald Masinda now for an update. And Ronald, just in terms of these queues that we're talking about, for us to describe them as notorious, it says a lot about those queues. Just tell us what you've observed since you arrived there and what community members and community leaders are telling you is their experience of these queues.
Yeah. So when we arrived here at around 7 o'clock earlier this morning, we spoke to several people. Some of them have been here since 1 a.m. this morning. And in many instances, some people have to sleep overnight. Some of them having makeshift shelters just to ensure that they are first in line so that they can be able to be assisted. Many of the people we see even here to us are people who have appointments at this particular office, but at the same time they've said that even when they get inside, they experience a number of challenges, a number of issues. Sometimes they've been told that systems are offline, and also there are issues of understaffing. Now, we do know that SASSA, like many other places where people go to get assistance, have been severely understaffed, given what the measures of COVID-19 have been implemented by many companies to ensure that there's enough social distancing. But I can tell you here, there's hardly any social distancing that we saw this morning. Many people are trying to scramble to get their way inside the venue. And not only are we seeing young people, we're also seeing disabled people, the elderly, people who have a number of illnesses. And one of the reasons why people have been saying that, people have been succumbing to death is because a lot of the disabled people are also here. The individual that passed on recently is a disabled male. Now, what we got from the individuals here in Gugulethu, they say that this individual was assisted inside and then later collapsed. And having spoken to SASSA as well, they say that it didn't actually happen inside the premises and that it happened outside the premises. But yeah, people are saying they are up in arms because had this individual been helped earlier, things could have been a lot different. We're also hearing that that particular person who succumbed to his death is a disabled male, and yet people had to wait 6 hours just for the ambulance to fetch his body. So a lot of complaints, people saying that this will continue happening until this matter is resolved. We heard from Mark Matebe. He is a member of Gugulethu Uprising, a civil society group here, and this is what he had to say.
It's a normal thing to collapse here, and people don't even get shocked anymore because it's something that they expect to happen every day. Because of the fact that SASSA works with half their staff because of the COVID pandemic, but the half of staff they have needs to cater for 5 areas, 5 offices that were closed. And these people inside that work here can't manage with the amount of work they have per day. So that becomes our problem, and we want to know from SASSA why the other offices were closed and what has happened to the staff that were working in those offices.
So, Ronald, you've also had the opportunity to speak to the SASSA CEO, particularly about this incident. What came out of that conversation?
All right. So Ibrahim Mahlangu is actually the SASSA Chief Information Officer. He said that, they've been trying to control the issues that have been experienced there because there's an estimated around 200 to 300 people who flock here daily just to get assistance. And the issues that SASSA have been facing is that a number of their branches have been closed due to vandalism and other issues because a lot of people who we see here, queuing here, are from other areas near Gugulethu, such as Nyanga and Philippi, areas where offices have been shut down. And the other issue here that we are seeing in SASSA is that a lot of the people don't have access to online internet, and people don't simply have the money also to afford for these services. So Abraham Matlang was saying that they will do all they can to educate and to also assist people on an online platform, and to also in future have another office such as this, so to ease the burden that is faced here. This is what he had to say further.
This incident refers to one of the clients that had visited our Gugulethu office on the 1st of December. The client was sickly on a wheelchair. He was taken immediately into the express line and his application was processed. His letter of award was given to him, and then he was then led out to the place where he was going to be waiting for his transport. After the arrival of the transport, it emerges that he was no longer responsive. He possibly had passed on. But what we would want to say, our condolences to the family of Mr. Bonile Rangana for the death of any person under any circumstances is one too many. But that had been the case where he had already been serviced and he was just waiting for his transport to take him home.
That was Abraham Mahlangu there, the SASSA Chief Information Officer, in conversation with Ronald Masinda earlier on. Live for us from Gugulethu in Cape Town, eNCA's Ronald Masinda reporting on that story there. That goes to prove that there are consequences to these things, aren't there? Inefficiency, failure to innovate and try and manage things that we've had to deal with for many, many years. We know that there'll be queues at social grant pay points and service access points. We should really be innovating. There are consequences sometimes, as you just saw there in that story.